Alright. Well, I'm back, and I decided just to stream this. No, I don't usually cut anything out of my videos. I been thinking. Turn off the volume. About what's been going on, and I've realized that I think I need to talk about my feelings about this. Biden and the Democrats are wanting to claim to be the party of unity, but I gotta admit I haven't seen much unity coming out of what has been done since he's been in office. I mean, canceling jobs, still conservatives being treated wrongly for their opinions, and blaming former police officers and vets for white supremacy. There should not be this many issues coming from his mouth. If you want to be the party of unity, or they want to be the party of unity, they wouldn't be attacking Trump supporters. They wouldn't be attacking conservatives. They would be trying to do what is right for the country as a whole. But no, Democrat, it seems like you get people attacking people for their difference of opinions. And I will say this, I am not a big fan of that. I guess I'm not sure if I'm actually streaming. Probably the fact that but I've seen so many people attacking each other over political opinions. I mean, of course, I know I've done it too. But if you want to be unify this country, we've got to stop attacking each other, or else it's just gonna keep going and going and going and going. I'm not trying. I mean, I could try to be a voice of reasoning, but it's not going to happen if we keep attacking each other. I mean, yeah, I don't agree with some of the actions Biden has taken, and I'm honest, I didn't vote for him. I voted for Trump because the attacks on that the Democratic Party has made me not really wanting to trust him. There is some good points in that party, and there is bad points in each party. We're gonna have bad people on either side, no matter what you do. But wanting to claim you're gonna unify the country, and your actions start proving otherwise, you never intended to unify the country. And you are just proving yourself wrong every time you do something that is an attack against Trump or his supporters. You want to unify this country, follow the Constitution, and stop continuously attacking your political opposition. I know I've addressed this whole abortion issue once, where I preferred to be that taxpayers don't fund abortions. And I know, I think I remember correctly, I made a second video stating that yes, there's occasions where abortions are medically necessary and should be done for medical necessity. That's the health and welfare of the mother. But abortions should not be used as a form of birth control or used as a means to make you feel better because you didn't want to have a child. Everyone should own up to their mistakes. I myself have made many mistakes in my life. So it needs to be understand that you've got to own up to your mistakes. I mean, I've made hundreds of mistakes in my life. And yes, I own up to them. I mean, I can't address how many mistakes I've made. Like, not going to college early on in my life when I got out of high school. I could have gone right after I got back from my first deployment. But if we're going to continuously fight over stuff that we should be able to talk about and find somewhere to meet. I mean, I always continuously play with the idea maybe one of these days I should run for president and run as an independent. Because if you want to have my opinion on this party thing is these parties are going to keep attacking each other. There's no use in being in a party. I literally would run as an independent, even though independents don't have much standing. But my appeal would be, hey, we do have issues we need to discuss. Maybe we can find an agreement where we can get these issues addressed without causing other issues to arise. I mean, like, this whole defund the police. We cannot defund the police. Minneapolis is finding that out real quick. Has found that out real quick. You cannot defund the police, but maybe there's things we can do to lessen the issues of police. These calls of police brutality. I mean, this Equality Act should meet experimental, in my opinion, should state you should not have race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, political beliefs, and your opinion held against you for anything. Now, in the event of harassment, statements calling for that are actually racist or sexist or stuff like that, that can be held against you. And I've actually been thinking a lot, and I've actually admit this. After the attacks on September 11th, I had a negative opinion of Muslims until I went overseas and spent time in Kuwait. Me and the lieutenant was driving. I was E3 at the time, so private. I let the LT drive, and he got us stuck in sand because he wanted to do a U-turn and check something out, which was there was a meeting full of sand. And he, one of the locals stopped by and actually helped us out of the our predicament. So that changed my opinion. They're extremists on both sides. Oh, anywhere you go, in religions, with religions and ideologies. So you can have you can be wrong about people just based on their visual appearance of them on their because of their political beliefs. I mean, a Trump supporter, went and cleared someone's driveway for him, and that individual who driveway they cleared got mad at him, just pretty much because they're a Trump supporter. I don't attack anyone because they support Biden. I'm trying to be more basing my decisions off of what I know of facts. I mean, even this Texas thing. Yes, both the coal and natural gas pipelines failed. Have failed, and along with wind. But it sounds like the wind energy completely failed, and some of the gas and coal plants failed. If that is true, then we, that's going to be a massive problem. If we just trying to go to full wind energy, I know here in Iowa we have them, and most of the time during the winter, I don't see them running. And actually, to be honest, there's times when even during the summer, spring, summer, and fall, they may have one or two running, and in a row of five, and the rest are off. And yes, it takes a chopper to defrost them and all that when they haven't been moving. But also, you need for the engine, the actual turbine, well, the gears and all that, have oil and stuff like that in them to keep them lubed up and all that. It's been, but we shouldn't have canceled that pipeline because we were trying to be independent on that aspect, the oil pipeline. I believe that we can work towards becoming towards more greener energy, and then we cut back on our oils and stuff like that. But we need to be independent because there are countries out there that are probably charging us an arm and a leg for certain items because well, oil items and stuff like that because they don't like us. There are many times we need to work towards a better future, but until we have that better future, we gotta continue use with what we have now. I've been talking with my wife about the vaccine, and yes, there's been some faults, and I know that an individual got fired from a company because she didn't want to get the vaccine, and then there was a whole storm of messages about it. I understand that people don't want to get the vaccine, and the company has a right to terminate you if you're an at will state. But they ask if the individual has a medical issue that would prevent them from getting the vaccine. And that would be the case if there was an issue. Yeah, and it would understand a lawsuit. And I mean, they can still try to file a lawsuit, but it's up to them. But I'll put it this way: I work for um, hospitals in the administrative area, and they are not requiring us to get it. But however, they are providing information about it, and it's going out to the entire hospital. So, if you have questions about the vaccination, you can contact the hospital and get information about it. And after talking with my wife about it and viewing this information, I will be getting it eventually. I just, because my wife informed me that there were some hospitals hoarding vaccines, and that was caused me to make the decision to wait to make sure those that needed it got the vaccine. Because one, I'm not high risk and I have a healthy immune system. So I decided to wait. But with all that information, I'm gonna try to schedule actually getting the vaccine, do the scheduling today for the vaccine, and work on it from there. But back to this political stuff. I'm gonna go back and talk about things I would do as, like, if I ever ran for president, yeah, it says I'd be an independent. Because we need to talk with individuals and see where we can come to a common ground. Let's say, like BLM and the Department of Justice. Yes, they want social workers, but a social worker's not gonna do very good against a guy with any kind of weapon. Now, social workers can be used for like someone who is signs of suicide, sitting up on a roof, talking about sit up on a roof, um, domestic dispute. I mean, yeah, that can get violent, but these instances, yes, if an officer shows up and they can try to talk calmly and say, hey, what's going on? I want this information. And officers have been trying to put it, trying not to shoot first when it comes to people with guns. But if the gun is pointed at that officer, the officer has every right to shoot. Because they're fearing for their life. And you've got to understand that criminals will get a firearm no matter what you do to prevent them from getting one. It, harming, attacking the law-abiding people or having a firearm is not the way to go on this. I mean, officers, you're gonna get a gun. And like 3% of the individuals who have been questioned out of California back in I think it was 2016, only 3% of them said they actually obtained a firearm legally through legal means. So that shoots a lot of holes that say, oh, if we outright ban firearms, criminals won't be able to get a hold of them. I'll go find a way. And that's why officers need firearms themselves. I mean, the reason officers have rifles now is because of idiots that decided to have rifles of their own and wearing full armor that was unpenetrable with pistol rounds, decided to shoot up places. And that also gave the reasons why to have body armor. The officers needed this equipment to protect themselves and to protect others. And they're not getting militarized, they're getting this equipment to protect themselves and others from those that will do harm. Which also brings me to, yes, we also need to work on more less than lethal stuff. And the less than lethal used to be called non-lethal, but they realized, yeah, it could kill someone, but there's less chance of it. So, the taser, if you have a heart condition, could kill you. So, if you have a heart condition, don't voluntarily get tased. But the taser doesn't always work. The pepper spray and tear gas don't always work. And I can vouch for the pepper spray not always working because let's say that I'll do this. I've been pepper sprayed twice in my life. The first time was back in 2011, I believe, 2012. It actually affected me when I was doing a course. And actually, in 2019, when I went through my reclass training to be a prison guard for the Army, it did not affect me through the course. The only time it actually affected me is when I was hit with water. So, you gotta understand, not everything is gonna work on everyone. So that's why we need to continuously work on improving it, and that's why the police departments need funding. Hopefully, maybe a research and development department to find more less than lethal issues. I mean, there's companies that are working on some of this stuff, like the Bolo wrap that shoots out and wraps around would wrap around the suspect's leg. Yes, and that would leave them able to catch themselves from smashing face first into the ground. But we need to continuously work on development of new technologies on less than lethal. So funding for that would be fun, would be a good thing. And yes, when it comes to accusations of a racist action, it should be done by an independent investigator, not one that is a representative of either party. So this individual that has nothing to do with the police department, this police department, or an individual, not an individual hired by the family of that individual, that individual, the family or that individual cannot hire someone to do their own investigation. It needs to be an independent investigator. So, like someone that has no stakes on the outcome of that investigation. I mean, that should be done for every act of what anything that is equality related. Because I don't care what side, what your race, religion, or gender, or all that. If there are racists, no matter what race you're in or part of. Every race can be racist. I mean, I got a buddy that has called me a cracker. Jokingly, of course, but that can be considered a racist term. I mean, I have a buddy in the army, in the army with me, that we jokingly do that. But we have an understanding. We don't mean anything mean by it. But it doesn't mean I will go off and call someone else that term that I don't know. It's was between me and him. I mean, there's always context between when people are talking to each other. So we've got to understand that there's gonna be people that may be joking. If the individual that gets called that word and they take it as a joke, doesn't mean you need to go unhinged on the other person. But you've got to understand there's races on both sides. And we all need to work on understanding that we need to be equal. Now let's come to the school shootings. There has been more people saying all these school shootings and people got their guns legally. Technically, if they're shooting up a school, the only way they would have, most of them would have been able to get a firearm if they were below the age of 18, would have been through breaking into their family member's gun cabinet and taking a firearm. That is technically not legal. And my theory on a lot of these school shootings is that there's a good chance, probably a reason why these things end up happening. And I'm leaning towards constant bullying that was never taken care of. I mean, if some of these school shooters were around, there could be some research done, and then talking to some of the survivors and talking to the survivors and seeing if they noticed anything like of bullying or issues where these individuals always being put down, treated wrong. It's needs to be researched. We need to find the cause of it, not just blame firearms, because there could be a number of reasons why someone did something. A firearm is a tool. It is not the cause, in my opinion. And wherever, if anyone sees this, that has questions, I'm more than willing to try to answer them the best I can. It's, or enter, answer my ability of what I think should be done. I mean, a lot, bullying has caused suicides and people has caused people to shoot other people. The thing is, we can't always have a safe space for people, but they do need someone to be able to talk to that will help them, not just say they will and not do anything about it. And I mean, I've made a video about this, saying my girls have had issues with bullying and nothing really much was done about it. It's continuously been an issue. Things though have gotten better recently at school, at least from since COVID hit. I mean, there is still bullying going on. I mean, I think after I made that video, I actually had to go get out of my car because technically a brother was attacking a sister, but he was throwing punches even while she was on the ground. It did not look like play for me. I got out of the car and walked over and checked to make sure she was all right. And it happened on the school grounds, and not a teacher in sight. This kind of stuff makes me wonder about the school systems. We send our children to school, no, knowing that the teachers will protect them from bullying and other stuff. The faculty will protect our children. We're giving them our children to care for, and there's two things I need to say. You gotta keep, you gotta actually care for them. If they're having an issue, you need to talk with them and hope and try to help rectify that issue. Also, your political beliefs need to be left at the door when entering that building. Politics does not need to be in schools. And I think that if you're gonna try to make force your political beliefs on the kids, you should not be teaching, because you need to let them decide for themselves what political beliefs they want to follow. But I tell you this one, communism and socialism are not going to be allowed here in the United States. Especially with the way things have been going, it's going to be tougher and tougher for those kind of organizations to gain a foothold in this country. And I'm still surprised at how many executive orders Biden has signed. And someone of the Democratic Party were claiming that Trump was being a dictator. Yet, look how many, in less than 2 months, Biden has almost come up to 100 executive orders signed, if I'm hearing that correctly. That spells more dictator than what Trump had done. And yes, our citizenship stuff probably needs a little bit of a revamp to lessen some of the stringent activity, some of the stringent demands on it. But I still think we need the border wall, because we have criminals coming, either trafficking people across the border, children across the border, than we need. And we got to stop a lot of the criminal activity that's coming across the border. And coming across the border is, in fact, illegal. And yes, I'm not supposed to use the term, but I'm going to use it anyways. You're considered an illegal alien or an illegal immigrant. You're here illegally. You're not an undocumented citizen. You're here illegal. You're an illegal immigrant. Now, I understand wanting to come here for a better life, but if you want to come for a better life, I mean, you're gonna have to learn English if you come here to the United States. Because I'm not gonna learn Spanish because you think I should. It's my right to choose not to learn another language. It's every American's right to whether they want to learn a new language or not. But if you have not learned yet and you're trying to talk to me, trying to explain something, I will try to do the best I can to understand what you're saying. I mean, I've done it before. Multiple occasions when I used to work as a cashier. But I'm not going to change my beliefs to fit to where you came from, because you think we should be more like the country you came from. Isn't that the reason why you left that country? It's because that country was acting the way you didn't want it to. The way things were going was not the way you wanted to. You need to understand that. If you like our country because of the way it is, don't try to change it. You can have your religious stuff and all that, but if you want to keep it to where you have the things your religion, your beliefs, all your holidays that you usually celebrate, then you gotta understand you cannot change this country to fit the way your other country was. I mean, I've been thinking also about how many times has Trump done something good, yet people back don't contradict. I mean, he was able to get North Korea to do something that no other president really before him has done. And that was actually talk to him, to actually be able to stand face to face with him and talk and stop the nuclear and stop with the nuclear testing. At least that we could tell. I mean, we need to start with peace first before we do any kind of military action. And let's be honest, this country is not the world police. And you know, and I'm thinking we should not be sending our troops to police the world. The UN wants to use our troops, and the UN's been trying to do stuff trying to control the world, and the UN is not a government body. It should have no political push on what our Constitution. It cannot go against our Constitution. Cannot say what we do as citizens, unless it comes to education. Should be when you're treating a certain community unfairly, like putting them in re-education camps, forced sterilization, then the UN should be able to step in. But they cannot tell us how to run our country. When it's when we're especially run our country, especially when it comes to firearms. I think the UN told us we trying to get us to stop having firearms, and that's one of the things. A lot of other countries that uh, have come after us decided that would be a bad decision because one of the Japanese generals that did the attack on Pearl Harbor stated it the best. It would just awaken a sleeping giant, and that also that they're afraid of behind about every blade of grass would be an American citizen with a firearm. Our Second Amendment is there to protect the citizen from a tyrannical government and any invading forces. And to be honest, I'm not a big fan of China right now. Not the China people, the Chinese government. And this goes back to my Muslim statement. The Uyghur Muslims being forced into re-education camp and forced sterilization, from what I understand. If I had a chance to say what I want to say, I'd have to impose sanctions on China for that. Because if you're part of the UN, that's something you should not be doing. Were they hurting anyone? Were they causing problems? From what I understand, no. There was no issues. You are pretty much, well, almost on the verge of doing what the Nazis did. I don't agree with China's treatment of Hong Kong and Taiwan and stuff like that. They're a separate entity. Leave them be. China has cracked down on Hong Kong's freedom of speech. They cannot protest. They cannot do anything. Why do you think Hong Kong likes the United States so much? At least as of right now, for now, they do, because we are able to speak our minds. And I didn't see. I change my statement here. I'm looking at Twitch and realized it says I'm playing World of Tanks, but I'm not. See if I can edit that. I've been trying to stream. I mean, that's one of my main games, but updating it instead of just World of Tanks. And I should realize that from the get-go. It's just a little slow. But yeah, China just needs to have sanctions. If they're going to continue to do that, they need to have sanctions put against them and need to be kicked out of the UN until they fix that issue. But is it going to happen? Probably not. I mean, to be honest, I would say the UN would be. I would pretty much will have the United States moved from the UN until that issue is fixed. Because it'd be an ultimatum. China either gets rid of those re-education camps and the forced sterilization, or you kick them out of the UN. And if you don't do either one of those, the United States is leaving. And we're never coming back until that issue is fixed. And you will not get any support troops from the United States. You will not get any funding from the United States until that issue is resolved. Because if you're gonna treat someone based off of their religion like dirt, then you should not be in any organization that is to prevent that. It's supposed to be preventing that. And the UN should be ashamed of itself for letting that happen. And if it continues to happen, it's just going to get worse. We may have another war because of the stuff China's doing to them. And I'm surprised, I'm going to be honest, I'm surprised I haven't heard much like ISIS or Al Qaeda going after China about these issues. Maybe they don't put it up. I mean, heck, if one of them found my channel and one of them actually states something, or say something about it, hey, I will say something different. But until then you were just gonna let Muslims be treated like dirt in China? You attacked the United States because you Western culture, but you're not gonna stand up for other Muslims? You just pretty much, well, don't have any footing on that anything right now. And I'm surprised we haven't heard from other Muslim nations about the Uyghur Muslims being treated poorly in China. I mean, if you live in one of those countries, let me know. But we can't believe everything. I mean, the virus originated in China, and I don't trust the World Health Organization too much because it seems like there is bias in that organization. And bias in the UN for all this. Literally, why can't they do something against China because of their actions? Because they don't care. But yeah, I think first you start with sanctions. Then if they want to keep it up, then you may go to war. War is never the first option. It's only the last option available when it comes to war. Fighting is the last option that any sane person should take. I mean, always start with sanctions, and then go to war if it comes to it. Now, unless they attack you, then go straight to war. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. It's retaliation when it comes to war. Second, but we're just going to continuously fight and fight and fight because of political differences. I mean, if you find this and you're tired of the both sides fighting to put on their agenda, I mean, you can leave a like if you actually watch the whole thing. I don't care. Like, but I'm not doing it for likes. I'm just doing it because I feel that there is a lot more people fighting for to have their political agenda put in place rather than trying to figure out what we can do on both sides to find an arrangement. I mean, I can see Biden actually work towards unity rather than being dividing this country. But it's not gonna happen if he starts trying to place blame on people for certain things. I mean, I pretty much don't like him anymore after he made a comment about former officers and veterans being are the reason why we still have white supremacy. No, because I'm a veteran, even though I'm still serving. But I'm not a white supremacist. How? And most of the veterans I know are not white supremacists or support white supremacy. Stop blaming other people and let me put it this way. If you are claiming every white person is a white supremacist or a white supremacist supporter, you may be racist against whites. And you cannot claim that, oh, because of their skin color, you're not racist. I mean, if you're attacking white people because they're white, you're a racist. And there's probably, and I understand that there may be some people that show that, yeah, white privilege is a myth. There's just people that are racist. Some people that are racist that will judge your decision based off of skin color when it comes to promotions. But I am not racist. I do not have white privilege. And I can prove you wrong. I drive a 2004 Pontiac Grand Am that is beat up and it's pretty much well on its last leg. And I'm just limping it by. I have never owned a new vehicle. And my wife drives a 2001 Ford Expedition that has its own issues. We have never owned a brand new vehicle. Ever. I struggle to make my mortgage payments. I don't have a nice computer. I do not have an expensive phone. I don't even have a pay-as-you-go set phone provider. I have a prepaid phone provider. And you can, yes, I may have this, but it's something I saved up for. Could save up for. Actually, I think about it was the last stimulus check because we had all our bills caught up. So when we do get a little extra money, yes, we get some extra stuff for ourselves with my family. But bills are barely kept up on. If I had white privilege, I'd be driving a nice car, have a nice computer, have a nice, expensive phone. But wrong. White privilege does not exist. I mean, I didn't get my own house until 2015. I have bad credit as of right now. I'll admit that. Bad credit. I know some people blame white privilege because of where I live. No, everyone had the option to buy this house. There's no white privilege in this community. I actually went and talked to a Black Lives Matter group when they stood up here. You know what? They have had nicer things than I did. Okay? I actually went and talked with the group, and we actually had an understanding. Me, a conservative, well, more leaning on the conservative side, in support of the uh, police. Yet we were able to talk and have a discussion. There was no rioting, no looting, so not you can't deem Black Lives Matter, all of Black Lives Matter, a terrorist organization. There is a however Antifa that pretty much, well, every time it seems like they show up, boom, there's a rioting. So that group might be. I don't know how much the other organizations that are much will start fights anytime they're around is not an organization I support. If you're wanting a discussion, we can have a discussion. I mean, I'm willing. If I'm willing to sit there and talk with that group, then I'm more than willing to sit down with organizations to talk about what is they want to address. But Antifa, anti-fascism, if you're using violence to push your political beliefs, technically you're a terrorist. And that's the definition of terrorism. Using violence to push your political or ideological beliefs. And the rioters, all rioters need to be arrested, no matter race, religion, sexual orientation, and so forth. It's needs. Do I support? I don't support any riots, any of the rioting. And the only time I would ever suggest the overthrow of a government entity is in the event of the fact that they are trying to control the entire population, tell you what to do, where to go, and all that. Pretty much while making you live in poverty, forcing you to live in poverty. Then that's when you would have to overthrow the government. I mean, trying taking away your free speech, taking away your due process. I mean, I even recommend taking a right to actually own a firearm here in this country because that's what the Second Amendment is meant for. Is in the event that our government becomes tyrannical, which means trying to strip us of our rights. I mean, right of what we can and can't say. Um, our ability to pursue our happiness. I mean, within the current legal means. I say legal current. I mean, the legal means of where like you're not killing someone or attacking someone. Um, and I feel that if he wants to try to that going to the point where he's gonna make it to where makes weapon manufacturers um, can be sued for someone using their product in a evil manner can be sued. Would be like, and actually someone found the perfect contradictions. It would be like telling a car manufacturer they can be sued for someone taking their car and plowing it into a crowd. Speaking of plowing in crowds, I don't really feel sorry for the people who end up getting run over by police cars that are banging on the police car and be, when they're standing because they were standing out because they're standing in the middle of the road and officers trying to get somewhere. You're banging on a police car. The officer's gonna have to is either gonna the officer can't go anywhere but out, and if you guys busted the window, he's got stuff in there that he's got to take off to keep these violent people from getting a hold of. So I don't feel sorry for you if you got ran over or hit by a cop car in that aspect. I don't wish you death, but dude, you got what you deserved. There's a difference between peaceful protesting and rioting. And if you're standing in the middle of the road without authorization and you're attacking people's cars, that's not peaceful protest. You're attacking a squad car because you're out there throwing a bunch of fit. You're actually rioting. You're sitting in the middle of the street without authorization, and you don't want to let a cop car through because you hate police. You get ran over. You get hit by a cop car. It's your own fault. It's not the officer's fault. It's your own fault for attacking the officer. I mean, people need to start, as I said earlier, people need to start taking responsibility for their actions instead of putting it off on someone else. I doubt anyone's gonna follow me on Twitter. Not Twitter. I did actually start a Twitter account, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna actually use it yet. But this kind of stuff's gonna continue until everyone's held accountable for their own actions. The political parties are dividing us. And yes, I lean on conservative view. I lean more conservative than I do anything else. But doesn't mean I'm willing to bring people to the table and discuss things. And we need to discuss things, or else nothing's ever going to change. It's just going to bounce back and forth between the stuff. It used to be Congress would discuss a bill and only the stuff about that bill, and the bill will only contain what the bill is meant for instead of any additional things that had nothing to do with the bill. So we need to be able to discuss it, figure out where we're gonna go. I'm not you can't call me a rhino because there's only certain ways to give in. me put it this way: we can discuss, but there's only going to be so much give, and no more than that. Because if you're going to keep trying to get more and more and more, it's not going to happen. Because I only give so much before I will say no more. Because if you're going to, because most of the time, when you give someone an inch, they like to take a mile. And that's what I'm not giving up a mile. And if I were in office, I would not. I would be telling Congress, you're only sending me bills that only have stuff written in it about that bill for that bill, nothing else. So you can't say, oh, we want to do a pass a bill on the budget. We're gonna slip in a pay raise for ourselves. That pay raise is that bill is gonna get thrown out until that pay raise is removed. So let's be honest. The president and Congress do not need pay raises. We need to actually balance our budget first before we even talk about giving people pay raises. And you know what? If we could balance the budget and stop with all these pay raises, maybe we could also lower taxes on everyone. Like, stop sending money out to foreign entities that are not meant for helping them with certain issues like recovery from a hurricane or stuff like that and stuff like that. I mean, sending money to a country just to do gender studies, that is a waste of taxpayer money. So, need to work on that. I mean, we shouldn't be giving taxpayer money to other countries for anything, really, unless it's something we bought for them. Pack of nails over there. Because if we're going to continuously have that issue, where we're sending money to other countries for stuff that doesn't need to be sent, we don't need to be sending money for, then we could actually probably cut the deficit in at least half. Probably around half of the deficit. Because we're spend on stuff other countries. Send money to UN. And we get told we're at the UN that we gotta get rid of our constitutional right, some of our constitutional right to keep and bear arms. I have had enough of that kind of stuff. I mean, if the UN wants our troops, wants our money, then they gotta understand they cannot attack our constitution, and they cannot allow China to continue what they're doing with the Uyghur Muslims. And we can't censor people's opinions, no matter if we want to believe it or not. I mean, come on.
Trump supporters are being constantly attacked by the left. After the January 6th incident. And I'm going to be honest, it's not 1/6, it's January 6th. It's not going to be compared to 9/11 by me at all. It is. They want to go after Trump supporters because they think all Trump supporters were involved in that. It'd be like like the police going after all Black Lives Matter supporters because people claiming they're Black Lives Matter go rioting in the street. So you need to understand that not all people are extremists. You've got extremists on both sides. And I understand you can't. I want to put something out here, and Facebook has tried to say, you're missing context when it comes to the whole thing. But with the fact that the House impeached Trump for inciting violence, yet nothing's been done with Nancy Pelosi or Maxine Waters about their incitements. And they were actually inciting pretty well, pretty much. So, you cannot have a double standard in that aspect. There is a double standard being shown as of right now. So, we cannot have a double standard at all on any side of any movement. I literally don't understand how people will claim something and have shown that they've done it themselves. Just continues to happen. You're just gonna have people retaliate against it. I mean, if you want to claim an insurrection or incitement, you should also make sure you haven't done it yourself, because you just pretty much will end up proving you're a hypocrite and you don't care. You just hate that individual. I mean, I'm not gonna go into full detail, but I'm just gonna say things I heard. Like the Trump rally prior to January 6th, it sounded like he told his individuals they can go protest, but peacefully. That's what it sounded like. It's from what I'm hearing, and yes, it probably caused he may have been mistaken when he was told, and he probably did say, "Hey, continues fighting for free and fair elections." There has been discrepancies found in some elections and some areas during the election. I can't say it was mass voter fraud, but there's been some issues that have been discovered, that have been uncovered. Yeah, Biden is president, but I'm gonna admit he does not have my respect. because he has been very dictatorial with all these executive orders. Hair in my mouth. And he's pretty much cost people jobs. Has cost people jobs because of that pipe. Just because he wants to go with towards the Green New Deal. And Texas just kind of proved that the wind turbines are not gonna be very good. We need, because from what I caught, most of the pretty much all, it's not like all the turbines, the fact that all the turbines went down. Yeah, and solar panels do not work so well when covered in ice. I'm pretty sure of that. I mean, we can work on it, but you can't. But from what I understand it, and if someone from Texas who works for the electric companies down there can verify this, it was because of the administration enforcing for enforcing some environmental regulations that kept them from running full capacity, saying that they have enough power to run the state. They could have actually had the power back on right away, or at least running throughout this whole ordeal. And he said, and if it's correct that they got the authorization too late, then it's on the government's hands that about it. But in winter, things freeze up. Were they prepared for it? No, they were not. But you can't say, "Oh, Texas is how is you doing now with your own electrical grid?" It's they don't have all the exact equipment ready for the severe of weather as they do because it's kind of rare that they get that severe of winter weather. So you can't always go be grumpy because of politics. They didn't have the proper they don't have proper equipment for winter weather. I mean, I was down in Fort Bliss one year and it snowed an inch. They closed down the whole fort. They wouldn't let those of us who know how to drive in an inch of snow drive. They told us to wait till it warmed up. So yeah, it was the middle of winter when we were down there. I actually got home before Christmas. So, but yes, they don't have all the exact equipment prepared for those instances because it's just gonna sit around for long periods of time not being used. So, but they're gonna learn from this and find ways to be a little more prepared in the future. And once they're more prepared, they will have it happen less often. But I feel as if people are just gonna complain about one political side or the other being at fault for something. Things happen. You can't always prepare for everything. But you can try your best to be prepared. That's why I kind of work on things. I work on trying to make things ready for in case of here now a tornado. I've got flashlights in and around the house and stuff like that. First aid kit. I need to get one of those. But I have other ways of communications to get things done. And I actually need to get off for today. I will leave you at that. Politics need to be put aside, and we need to start working together. I'll see you next time I'm on.